The cake was dripping down my face. My mother-in-law stood there laughing. My sister-in-law smirked. The entire room mocked me, the poor girl who trapped their billionaire son. But they had no idea who I really was. And when my husband discovered my secret that night, jaws dropped everywhere. Before we dive in, if you love stories with jaw-dropping twists and sweet revenge, hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on notifications because this story has more turns than a roller coaster. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. Now, let me tell you everything. My name is Hazel, and I need to tell you something that very few people know about me. When you see me walking down the street in my simple jeans and cotton blouse, dropping off kids at the kindergarten where I work, you'd never guess the truth. You'd never know that I'm the only daughter of William Hayes, one of the most successful real estate billionaires in the country. Yes, that William Hayes, the one who owns half the skyscrapers in the city skyline. But here's the thing. I don't use that last name. At work, with friends, in my everyday life, I go by Hazel Brooks. I live in a modest 2-bedroom apartment in a middle-class neighborhood. I drive a 10-year-old sedan that's been with me since college. I shop at regular stores, eat at normal restaurants, and live a life that most people would call ordinary. And I do it all by choice. You're probably wondering why someone with access to unlimited wealth would choose to live like this. The answer is simple, really. I wanted to find real love. Not someone who saw dollar signs when they looked at me. Not someone who wanted to marry my father's empire. Just someone who would love me for who I am. Hazel, the girl who adores children, who makes terrible jokes, who cries during animated movies, and who believes in genuine human connection. My father understood. When I told him at 23 that I wanted to live independently under a different name, he supported me completely. He said, "Sweetheart, if you can find someone who loves you without knowing about all this, you'll have found something more valuable than anything I could ever give you." So he helped me set up my new life, and we kept it secret. Only my father and his most trusted lawyer knew the truth. That's how I was living when I met him. Christopher Knight. Everyone called him Chris, but I loved calling him Christopher because it sounded strong, dependable, and real. He was the CEO of Knight Technologies, a brilliant businessman who'd built his own empire from the ground up. And yes, he was a billionaire too, but I didn't know that when we first met. It was at the Rainbow Kindergarten where I worked. His company had started an education sponsorship program for underprivileged children, and he came personally to see how the funds were being used. I remember that day so clearly. I was sitting on the floor with a group of 5-year-olds, paint on my hands, my hair in a messy bun, reading them a story about a brave little mouse. When I looked up, there he was, standing in the doorway with the school principal, watching me with this soft smile on his face. Our eyes met, and something just clicked. After the school tour, he asked if I'd like to grab coffee and talk more about the program. Coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into weekend walks in the park. Before I knew it, I was falling hopelessly in love with Christopher Knight, and the beautiful thing was, he had no idea who I really was. He thought I was just Hazel Brooks, a kindergarten teacher who lived paycheck to paycheck, who saved up for small luxuries, who took the bus on rainy days, and he loved me anyway. He never tried to impress me with expensive gifts. Our dates were simple: pizza places, movie theaters, bookstore browsing, picnics in the park. He respected my budget and never made me feel less than him, even though he was worth billions. That's when I knew. I had found the real thing. 6 months into our relationship, Christopher proposed. We were at the same park where we'd had our first walk, feeding ducks by the pond, and he got down on one knee with a ring that was beautiful but modest by his standards. He said, "Hazel, you've shown me what really matters in life. Will you marry me?" I said yes, with tears streaming down my face, knowing I'd found the man I'd been searching for all my life. But then came the hard part: meeting his family, Patricia Sullivan Knight, Christopher's mother. The moment I walked into their family mansion for Sunday dinner, I knew I was in trouble. She looked me up and down like I was something unpleasant she'd stepped in. Her eyes lingered on my department store dress, my simple jewelry, my practical shoes. I saw the judgment flash across her face before she even said hello. "So you're the kindergarten teacher," she said, her voice dripping with disdain. "Not nice to meet you or welcome." Just that statement, loaded with everything she didn't say out loud. Christopher's sister Kim was there too, with her husband and their perfectly styled life on display. Kim had married a wealthy corporate lawyer, and she wore her designer clothes like armor. She barely acknowledged me, giving me a tight smile before turning back to her phone. Throughout dinner, I tried. I really tried. I asked about their interests, complimented the home, engaged in conversation. But every response from Patricia was laced with subtle insults. "You must not eat like this often," she said when I complimented the chef's cooking. "I suppose your apartment is quite small," she mentioned when discussing Christopher's penthouse. "How quaint that you work with children," she remarked, making it sound like the least respectable profession in the world. Christopher defended me, but I could see the tension. This was his family, his mother, and I was the outsider who didn't fit their world. The weeks that followed were torture. Patricia made it abundantly clear that she thought I was a gold digger, a fortune hunter who'd trapped her precious son. She said it to her friends loud enough for me to overhear at a charity event. She probably planned the whole thing. Working at a kindergarten his company sponsors? Please, it's so obvious. Kim would smirk and nod along, sometimes adding her own commentary. Christopher could have married anyone. Doctors, lawyers, heiresses throw themselves at him. But somehow he chose a kindergarten teacher. Every family gathering was an endurance test. Every comment was designed to make me feel small, poor, unworthy. And the worst part? I couldn't defend myself with the truth. Because I'd made Christopher promise not to tell them who I really was. I wanted to win them over with my character, not my bank account. I wanted them to see me, but they never did. They just saw what they wanted to see, a poor girl from nowhere trying to climb the social ladder through their son. Then came the invitation that would change everything, Kim's 5th wedding anniversary party. It was going to be a massive celebration at the most exclusive venue in the city. Society's elite would be there, politicians, celebrities, business moguls. Patricia made her position crystal clear when she spoke to Christopher, not realizing I was in the next room. "Please don't bring her," she said. "This is Kim's special night. All our friends will be there, and I don't want to spend the evening making excuses for your choice. She doesn't know how to behave around our class of people. She'll embarrass us all." I heard Christopher's angry response, heard him defending me, but I also heard Patricia's manipulation. "It's your sister's anniversary, Christopher. Just this once, can't you think about the family?" I felt my heart sinking. The weight of being unwanted, of being seen as an embarrassment, pressed down on my chest until I could barely breathe. That night, lying in bed next to Christopher, I couldn't take it anymore. The secret I'd been keeping felt like a wall between us and his family. It felt like the barrier preventing any chance of peace. I sat up, turned on the bedside lamp, and looked at the man I loved. "Christopher, I need to tell you something," I said, my voice shaking. "Something I should have told you a long time ago." He sat up too, concern filling his eyes. "What is it? Are you okay?" And then I told him everything. About my father, about William Hayes, about the empire I'd walked away from to live a normal life, about the trust funds and properties and wealth that I'd kept hidden. I watched his face cycle through shock, disbelief, confusion, and finally something like awe. You're William Hayes's daughter?" he said slowly. "The William Hayes?" I nodded, tears spilling down my cheeks. "I didn't tell you because I wanted you to love me for me, not for my money or my connections or what I could bring to your business. I just wanted to be Hazel. Just Hazel." He was quiet for a long moment, processing. Then he asked, "Why are you telling me now?" "Because I can't watch your family treat me like garbage anymore," I said honestly. "Because I'm tired of them thinking I'm some opportunist when the truth is so different. But Christopher," I grabbed his hands, "please don't tell them yet. Let me go to that party. Let me try one more time to win them over with who I am, not what I have. If it goes badly, then we'll tell them, but let me try." He looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. "You've had all this wealth, and you chose to live in a small apartment and work with kids and let my mother treat you terribly, just to prove your love was real?" "Yes," I whispered. He pulled me into his arms and held me so tight I could barely breathe. "You're incredible," he said into my hair. "And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry my family has made you feel like you need to prove anything." We talked for hours that night. He wanted to call his mother right then and tell her everything, but I convinced him to wait, just until after the party. I had this naive hope that maybe, just maybe, I could still reach them as just Hazel. The day of Kim's anniversary party arrived faster than I wanted. Christopher had an important business meeting he couldn't reschedule, but he promised he'd join me at the party as soon as it was over. I spent hours getting ready, choosing a cream-colored dress that was elegant but not flashy, doing my makeup carefully, trying to look my best while still looking like myself. When I arrived at the Grand Riverside venue, my breath caught. Crystal chandeliers hung from impossibly high ceilings. Ice sculptures sparkled in corners. Waitstaff in crisp white uniforms carried trays of champagne in crystal flutes. Women dripped in diamonds and designer gowns. Men wore custom-tailored suits that probably cost more than most people's cars. This was Patricia's world. Kim's world. And I was walking into it alone. The moment I stepped inside, I felt the stares. Patricia spotted me immediately, and I watched her face transform from surprise to fury. She'd clearly hoped I wouldn't show up. She swooped toward me with several of her high society friends in tow. "Hazel," she said, my name sounding like an accusation. "I'm surprised to see you here." "Kim invited me," I said quietly, though we both knew that invitation had been reluctant at best. "How nice." Patricia's smile was razor-sharp. Then, loud enough for the nearby guests to hear, she announced, "Everyone, this is Hazel Brooks, my son's fiancée. She's a kindergarten teacher. Isn't that sweet?" The way she said it made my profession sound like a joke. I heard the titters of laughter, saw the condescending looks. A woman in a red gown whispered to her companion, "That's the one Patricia's been complaining about, can you imagine? Christopher Knight marrying a kindergarten teacher?" Kim appeared in a stunning silver gown, her anniversary clearly an opportunity to showcase her perfect life. She looked at me with barely disguised contempt. "Oh, you came," she said flatly. "How brave of you." I congratulated her on her anniversary, trying to be gracious, but she just gave me a fake smile and turned away to pose for photos with her husband. The next hour was hell. Patricia paraded me around like an exhibit of everything wrong with Christopher's choices. Her sister, Christopher's aunt, asked me if I'd grown up in poverty with such fake concern that I wanted to scream. Other guests made comments about my dress being quaint and my jewelry being costume pieces. Every word was designed to cut, to remind me I didn't belong. I stood alone in that glittering ballroom surrounded by hundreds of people, and I'd never felt more isolated in my life. Christopher still wasn't there. I checked my phone. Nothing. I was completely on my own. Then came the moment that would change everything. The anniversary cake was brought out, a magnificent 5-tier creation with gold leaf and sugar flowers. Kim and her husband prepared to cut it while photographers snapped away. The crowd gathered around, champagne glasses raised for toasts. Patricia suddenly called out to me, "Hazel, dear, come here." My stomach dropped, but I walked over. What else could I do? "Since you work with children, you must be good at serving," Patricia said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Help us distribute the cake slices to our guests. It'll be good practice for your future role in this family. Service." The insult was thinly veiled, but I swallowed my pride and nodded. Several guests exchanged knowing looks, enjoying the spectacle of the poor girl being put in her place. I moved to help, but before I could take the plate Patricia was offering, Kim spoke up. "Actually, Mother, she should taste it first. Make sure it's good enough for our guests." She laughed, and several people joined in. I felt my cheeks burning, but tried to maintain dignity. "That's not necessary." Before I could finish, Patricia grabbed a large piece of cake. Our eyes met, and in hers I saw pure malice, and then she did it. She shoved that cake directly into my face with force that wasn't accidental, wasn't playful. It was aggressive, violent even. Cream and frosting exploded across my face, my hair, my dress. The impact actually hurt. I gasped, stumbling backward, cake dripping everywhere. My eyes were burning from the frosting. My carefully applied mascara ran in black streaks down my cheeks. "Oops!" Patricia cried out dramatically. "How clumsy of me. I'm so sorry, dear." But she wasn't sorry, she was laughing. And so was Kim. Kim actually pulled out her phone and started recording, capturing my humiliation for posterity. The entire room erupted in laughter, cruel, mocking laughter that echoed off those high ceilings and crushed what was left of my dignity. "Look at her," someone called out. "She looks like a clown." "Maybe she should go back to the kindergarten where she belongs," another voice added. I stood there, frozen, cake sliding down my face and neck, soaking into my beautiful cream dress. My hands were shaking, tears mixed with the mascara and frosting. I'd never been so utterly humiliated in my entire life. This wasn't just an accident or a joke gone wrong. This was cruelty. This was intentional degradation designed to break me. Patricia was still laughing, dabbing fake tears from her eyes. "Goodness, Hazel, you really should be more careful. Though I suppose this is what happens when you're not used to formal events." Kim leaned in close, her phone still recording. "This is going to be hilarious to look back on," she whispered with a vicious smile. I wanted to run. I wanted to disappear. I wanted to scream the truth at all of them, that I had more money than most of them combined, that I'd chosen simplicity, that I wasn't who they thought I was. But the words wouldn't come. I just stood there, dripping and broken, while they laughed. And then the ballroom doors burst open. The laughter died instantly. Every head turned. And there he was, Christopher Knight, standing in the doorway like an avenging angel. His eyes swept the room, taking in the scene, taking in me, covered in cake, crying, taking in his mother's guilty face, taking in his sister still holding up her phone. I'd never seen Christopher angry before, not really angry. But in that moment, his face transformed into something cold and terrifying. He walked toward me with deliberate steps, each footfall echoing in the sudden silence. People stepped back, creating a path. He reached me and stopped. For a moment, he just looked at me, at what they'd done to me. Then, so gently it made my tears flow harder, he pulled out his silk pocket square and began wiping cake from my face. His jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscle jumping. "Are you okay?" he asked quietly. Just for me. I couldn't speak. I just shook my head. He finished wiping my face as best he could, then turned to face the crowd. Someone handed him a microphone. I think it was one of the event staff who'd seen everything and understood that something important was about to happen. Christopher's voice, when he spoke, was deadly calm. "I've had enough." Patricia tried to interrupt. "Christopher, darling, it was just a little accident." "Shut up!" The words cracked through the air like a whip, and Patricia actually flinched. I'd never heard Christopher raise his voice like that. "Don't you dare call that an accident. I saw what you did. Everyone here saw what you did." He looked around the room at all those wealthy, privileged faces. "For months, you've all treated the woman I love like garbage. You've mocked her profession, a profession that shapes young minds and changes lives. You've insulted her background. You've called her a gold digger and a fortune hunter. My own mother and sister have been the cruelest of all." Kim tried to put her phone away, but Christopher pointed at her. Don't you dare delete that video. Keep it. Look at it every day and remember what kind of person you were tonight." Then he dropped the bomb that would shatter everything. "You want to know who Hazel really is?" His voice rang out clear and strong. "You want to know the truth about this simple kindergarten teacher you've spent months tormenting?" I tried to grab his arm, to stop him, but he gently moved my hand and kept going. "Her name isn't Hazel Brooks, it's Hazel Hayes, as in William Hayes. The William Hayes." I watched confusion ripple through the crowd. Some people clearly recognized the name immediately, others were still putting it together. Christopher continued, relentless. She's the sole heir to the Hayes real estate empire. Do you know how much that's worth? 3 times what my family is worth, 5 times what most of your families are worth combined. The gasps were audible now. Kim's face had gone white. Patricia looked like she might faint. She owns buildings, dozens of them. She has a trust fund that generates more money in interest each month than most of you make in a year. She could buy this entire venue with pocket change. He turned to look at me, his eyes soft despite his anger. But you know what she chose? She chose to hide all of that. She moved into a modest apartment, drove an old car, lived on a teacher's salary. Do you know why? No one answered. The room was completely silent. Because she wanted to find real love. She wanted someone to love her for who she is, not what she has. And she succeeded. I fell in love with Hazel Brooks, the kindergarten teacher. I fell in love with her kindness, her humor, her passion for helping children. Her money had nothing to do with it because I didn't know about it. He turned back to his family, and his voice grew harder. But you didn't see any of that. You saw what you wanted to see, a poor girl trying to climb the social ladder. You judged her, belittled her, and tonight you humiliated her in the cruelest way possible. Patricia finally found her voice, stammering. Christopher, I didn't know. If I had known. If you had known she was rich, you would have treated her with respect? Christopher cut her off. That's exactly the problem, Mother. That's exactly why she hid who she was, because people like you only show respect based on bank accounts and last names. He walked over to Patricia, and I'd never seen him look at his mother with such disappointment. You put cake on the face of one of the wealthiest women in this country. You humiliated someone who could buy and sell you. But more importantly, you humiliated a kind, genuine person who only wanted to be accepted for who she is. Before anyone could respond, the ballroom doors opened again, and my heart stopped. My father walked in, William Hayes in his signature gray suit, with his security team flanking him. Every business person in that room recognized him instantly. He was a legend, a titan of industry, a man whose name commanded respect and fear in equal measure. He walked straight to me, and his eyes took in everything. The cake in my hair, the ruined dress, the tears on my face. His expression darkened in a way that would have terrified me if I didn't know that anger wasn't directed at me. "Hello, sweetheart," he said gently, pulling me into a hug despite the mess. "I'm sorry I'm late." Christopher had called him. Of course he had. My brilliant Christopher had made sure my father knew what was happening. Dad held me for a moment, then released me and turned to face the crowd. When William Hayes looked at you with disappointment, you felt it in your bones. And right now, he was looking at Patricia and Kim like they were less than nothing. "I'm William Hayes," he said, though everyone already knew. "This is my daughter, my only child, the most precious thing in my world." He walked toward Patricia, who actually backed up a step. "You put cake on my daughter's face. You humiliated her publicly. You treated her like she was beneath you." Patricia tried to speak, but no words came out. "I've dealt with bullies in boardrooms for 40 years, Dad continued, corporate sharks who would destroy anyone to get ahead. But I have to say, Mrs. Knight, you might be the pettiest bully I've ever encountered, and that's saying something." He turned to Kim. "And you recorded it. You were going to post that video, weren't you? Mock her on social media? Make her a laughingstock?" Kim was frantically shaking her head, but her guilt was written all over her face. Dad smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. "Let me tell you what's going to happen. Patricia, you sit on the board of the Metropolitan Museum, correct? A position you're quite proud of, I believe?" Patricia nodded weakly. "Not anymore. I'm the largest private donor to that museum. I'll be making a call tomorrow. You're done." Patricia's face crumbled. That board position was her crowning achievement in high society. "And Kim," Dad continued, "your husband works at Morrison & Fisher Law Firm, yes? They handle several of my corporate accounts. I'll be reviewing those relationships. I'm sure there are other firms that would appreciate my business." Kim started crying. "Please, Mr. Hayes, don't." Don't what? Don't defend my daughter the way you wouldn't defend yours if someone treated her this way? His voice was ice. You're lucky I'm handling this privately. I could make what happened here tonight front-page news. High society bullies torment secret heiress. The press would have a field day. Finally, I found my voice. It came out stronger than I expected, all the hurt and humiliation crystallizing into something solid and unbreakable. I didn't want this, I said, and everyone turned to look at me. I didn't want to reveal who I was like this. I wanted to earn your respect honestly as just Hazel. But I realize now that was impossible. I looked directly at Patricia. You can't earn respect from people who have none to give. You judged me from the first moment you met me, and nothing I did would have changed your mind. Not my kindness, not my education, not my character, because in your world, the only thing that matters is money and status. I turned to Kim. You're so proud of your perfect life, your perfect marriage, your perfect position in society, but you're empty inside. You have to step on other people to feel tall. That's not success, that's just sad. Then I looked at Christopher, this incredible man who'd stood by me through everything. I found the only good person in this family, the only one who sees people for who they are, not what they have. I took his hand, then reached for my father's. I'm leaving now, and Christopher's coming with me. Christopher didn't hesitate. He looked at his mother and sister one last time. Don't contact me until you can apologize, and I mean really apologize, not because you found out she's rich, but because you realize what you did was cruel no matter who she was. We walked out together, the three of us, leaving that ballroom full of stunned, silent people behind. As we reached the doors, I heard someone start to clap, then another person joined in, then more. By the time we stepped outside, a third of that room was applauding, the ones who'd been uncomfortable with the bullying all along, who were glad someone finally stood up to Patricia Knight and her toxic social circle. The next few days were a whirlwind. The story leaked, of course. Not Kim's video, she'd deleted that, but someone else had recorded Christopher's speech on their phone. It went viral. Billionaire defends secret heiress wife from family bullies was the headline on every gossip site and news outlet. Patricia was devastated. She lost not just her museum position, but several other board seats. Her friends in high society began distancing themselves, not out of loyalty to me, but because associating with her had become socially dangerous. She'd become the cautionary tale of high society cruelty. Kim's life fell apart too. Her husband didn't lose his job, but the firm made it clear he'd never make partner now. Her social circle evaporated. The influencer lifestyle she'd been building on social media crashed when people started calling her out for being a bully. But I didn't celebrate their downfall. I just felt tired and relieved that it was over. Christopher moved out of his family home and into my real apartment, the penthouse I actually owned but had never lived in. For the first time, we built a life together in honesty. No more secrets. No more hiding. Just us. 3 months later, a letter arrived, handwritten, on expensive stationery. It was from Patricia. Dear Hazel, it began, I have spent 3 months thinking about what I did to you, and I have no excuse. I was cruel, judgmental, and wrong. I treated you terribly not because of who you were, but because of who I am, someone who valued all the wrong things. I am so deeply sorry. I don't expect your forgiveness, but I needed you to know that I am genuinely ashamed of my behavior. If you ever find it in your heart to give me a chance to make amends, I will spend the rest of my life proving I can be better. With sincere regret, Patricia. I showed it to Christopher. We talked for hours about what to do. In the end, we decided to meet with her, just once, to see if the apology was real. It was. Patricia had changed. The humiliation had broken something in her, but in breaking it, she'd found humility she'd never had before. We started slowly rebuilding a relationship, but this time with firm boundaries. She understood she was on probation. One slip, and she'd lose Christopher forever. Kim apologized too, eventually. Hers was harder to believe, tinged with self-pity and excuses. But she was trying, and that was something. Now, months later, I work at the same kindergarten. I still drive my old car sometimes, though I also use the nice ones from my garage. I donate millions to education programs anonymously. I live the life I choose, with the man I love, and I don't hide anymore. That cake smashed in my face was the best thing that ever happened to me. It revealed everyone's true character, including my own. It showed me that Christopher would always choose me, always defend me, always stand by my side. It showed me that my father's love was fierce and protective, and it taught me that you can't win over people who are determined to see you as less than. Money doesn't define you. Your character does. And sometimes the people with the most money have the least character of all. Wow. What a journey, right? Now I want to hear from you. Would you have revealed your identity sooner or waited like I did? Drop your answer in the comments. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to this channel for more incredible real-life stories with twists you'll never see coming. Remember, never let anyone make you feel small, no matter who they are. Until next time, this is Hazel, reminding you to know your worth and never apologize for being yourself.